Okay, beautiful shots there of the crossroads. So while the traffic does continue around Sydney, because the traffic does get a little bit upended when you're talking about the Harbour Bridge being shut down, you're talking about some main arterials, Kale Expressway and all those sort of things. But Sydney siders are very understanding. They know that this is a marvellous international event, and we can see our 5 men out in front now, the lead bunch for the men's marathon.
They're on that bus road as well through beside Moore Park. People will be familiar with in Sydney. So traffic certainly continuing on the roadway, but clear road here for these runners, down to 5, that pack. And again, that overhead shot I love. Look at the Frenchman there, Canouche, very, very relaxed. He's certainly the most efficient, and at this
very
stage,
minimal sort of arm movement. He's not over-exaggerating anything, is he, Monis?
Not at all. He's very efficient.
He's almost holding himself back a bit there. You can see that he looks as if he wants to run a little bit faster, but he's sort of just waiting and waiting and waiting to see what the others do, I think, more than anything else.
And it is a trend now that the Africans psychologically have a great advantage. It's almost like he's waiting for the Africans to go. Now, unfortunately, that's the way the world of men's marathon running is. So he's probably thinking, well, when these guys go, I'm going to be ready. And to be ready, he's in the best spot. He's right there with the leaders, so he's ready to go.
He's waiting to pull the trigger, I think. But having said that, you never know with the Africans. The Africans can sometimes just wait and wait until almost they come into, as it was in the World Championships, almost in the last 600 metres of the marathon before they start putting the real effort in. They have that capability, and I think, as you say, he's probably thinking, well, I'm just going to bide my time.
Yeah, and that certainly looks like it. He'll let the Africans have their own battles and races and do all the pace work for him, and go when it's strategically positioned for him.
We know it's an individual event, but there's 2 Kenyan runners now up at the pointy end. Is there a possibility that the one will run for the other? We've seen it happen. We know it unfolds, and we know that, as I said, while it's individual, no doubt there's team, and there is also possibilities for one to achieve prize money and all those sort of things.
Oh, they certainly, if it gets to a stage where they might come to an agreement that one will help another and they'll share a bit of the prize money, and no doubt about that. All help is gladly accepted.
The SCG and Sydney Footy Stadium over on the right-hand side, a beautiful scenic shot of Sydney that has turned on a sunny, wonderful day. Minimal wind conditions, excellent day for running, and this is our lead group of men as we're approaching the 1.5 hour mark. The lead group made up of Willie Koitale, also Julius Correa. They're the 2 Kenyans we spoke about. Nearest to camera in the white is the French runner in Al Hassan Ben Canouche, the 32-year-old. And we've also got in there as well Samuel Gabra Michael from Ethiopia, and James Cheboy from Kenya in there too.
And I think they're at the furthest part of the course. Whilst we talk about the course winding around, staying fairly close to the city, they have actually gone out towards Mascot, and they've gone to the furthest part of the course, and they're turning around to come back to the CBD. So psychologically, they're starting to at least be feeling like they're heading home. So they're through halfway, heading back towards the city. So the race will certainly start to unfold a lot more now.
It is going to be an interesting way to see what happens with these runners. And you can see the SCG and also the Sydney Football Stadium, a beautiful scenic day in Sydney for the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival, and Centrepoint Tower front and square right in the middle of that wonderful cityscape that is so well recognised with the Sydney Opera House and also the Sydney Harbour Bridge. This is our lead group. It's down to 5 runners, and we're just working our way through in terms of the Kenyans and what they can do. On the right-hand side of screen is the French runner, that's Al Hassan Ben Canouche, the 32-year-old from France. He's wearing the A7, and they're running their way through the roadways. They've turned and heading back into town. Here's some of the splits for you, boys.
Well, yes, the leader there, Marugu, dropped out now, so it's just really the other athletes are behind, and as we keep saying, it is a battle, I suppose, between the Kenyans, but then, as we say, Canouche, the Frenchman, looks very strong there, and at the moment, I think it's just a matter of, it's a cat and mouse situation where they're deciding what they're going to do in the next 5 or so K before someone makes a real effort, I think.
And I've worked out they're still on that pace. They're almost spot on the 2:13 time. And whilst the course record was 2:11 last year, So it's actually still fast. That'd be the second fastest time we've ever had on the course. So 2:13, nothing wrong with that in world-class marathon running.
No, I think before that 2:11, it was 2:14, I think, the course record. So they're running really well. There's no question about that. And I think that by saying that, they're running well, but they're running tactically as well. That's the other thing. They're waiting. They're not going all out for a time. They're actually waiting to see what each of them is going to do in terms of effort and where they're going to start making their move.
These boys have put in plenty of training. They do it professionally, but of course we have plenty of amateur running as well. 35,000 runners in total competing in the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival, including Steve Chapman. We've been tracking his progress, and of course for him, he's coming up for his first marathon.
Steve Chapman's my name. I'm 57 and I'm running in the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival and doing the marathon, which is my very first time. I've always admired marathons and all the people who do it. I guess it was a matter of sort of now or never, and something I've always thought about, but never really got around to doing it. I'm also running because of a charity. A number of my friends and family have been exposed to cancer. My mother had breast cancer. Can2 is an amazing organisation. It started with a simple concept of people can exercise, have fun and raise money all at the same time. Well, I'm a bit anxious, probably more anxious than I thought I'd be, a little nervous. I had no idea when I started whether I'd be able to get through it or not. The first thing I'm going to do when I finish that line is give someone a hug because it's going to be a really satisfying experience.
Steve Chapman there, and you could see the work he's putting into it. This is the half marathon as people making their way along to the Sydney Opera House, along the foreshore, and coming past some of the beautiful restaurants and cafes, and the crowd there supporting the half marathon finish. And this is a real achievement for a lot of these runners as they make their way across, and then it's just that, oh, we've done it, congratulations, pat on the back.
Well, they've set their own targets, these athletes, and they are athletes. You know, a half marathon is a good performance, no doubt about that. They're not joggers and they're not fun runners. This is a good run from them, and some of them, as you can see, coming through the line are really tired.
The bridge we could see there today would be a day to do the bridge walk. Imagine that coming along, and of course you'd see all the runners underneath you as well if you're up there lucky enough to do it. I've done it and it's absolutely fantastic. If you get the chance to get up onto the coat hanger, outstanding.
Well, what we're not seeing actually is the Opera House, which is just behind us here, and these athletes coming in can see that as they come in, which must be quite inspirational to them, really. I mean, you don't get many finishes like that. You're finishing in front of the Opera House in Sydney.
There it is, and that landmark, you cannot miss it. It is so strategically positioned, and gee, right between the Opera House and the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Gee, I think we're pretty spoiled, aren't we? And the runners get to look at that.
I mean, every time I come to Sydney, you just can't really. You look at the Opera House, and it is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it's built 40 years ago, and even then it must have been sort of controversial, but now I think people really appreciate it for what it is.
Do we sound like we're glowing? This is just such a beautiful city. Yeah. We don't have to work hard to sell it, promote it. It's terrific.
And no doubt about Steve Ovett, OBE, just asked for the Opera House shot, and then we fired 18 cameras out. So well done to everyone in the truck and the camos as well, just looking after our OBE sitting here in the commentary box, Steve Ovett. The men's distance travelled 28.67 kilometres down, and we started off with a lead group of 8 runners. We had a couple of pacemakers in there as well. We're now down to 5, the numbers 2, 3, 9, 7 and 10, and that is Willie Quaterlate, Julius Correa in there as well. Also we've got James Cheboy, we've got Lucky Mahali from South Africa, and Al Hassan Ben Kanouche from France. So that's the way it's panning out at this stage.
And just an update on the Australian, it's the Australian Marathon title, and
yes.
Josh Harris and Alex Matthews having a bit of a battle back in, they're about 6.5 minutes behind the leaders through 25k, so going well. Adam Bishop, who, great story, he's the CEO of Athletics South Australia, and here he is practicing what he's preaching, representing his state in that national championship.
a marvellous bit of kudos to be the Australian marathon champion, and to do it on this course and to do it with such an international field. Surely that must spur on our local hopes that are wanting to represent in green and gold.
And in front of your home crowd. So you're not doing... A lot of athletes will go overseas, but to do it here now in Australia, obviously you're putting your name in front of selectors and the public, so just great.
But I think this is the chasing woman here, Jin Ling Ling, and I think she's maybe some way back from the Gifa, but 2 minutes back, is it? So yeah, she's still doing her own little rhythm, and there's still a long way to go in this race, so you never know what's going to happen really in the marathon. Anything can happen, and it's quite dramatic. It usually happens at the end of the race, obviously, when the pressure's on and everybody starts getting very, very tired. So she's trucking along quite well at the moment.
We have got 2,017 international competitors from 57 different countries, and Jin Ling Ling is representing China, and she had a look around Sydney earlier this week.
My name is Ling Ling Jin. I'm 27 years old, and my best marathon time is 2 hours 30 minutes. I have run 20 marathons in my career. After 2008 Beijing Olympic Games, I start my marathon career. This is the first time I come to Australia, and I like Australia. And I feel the Opera House is very great, and the people here is very friendly. In this marathon, I will try my best, and I will do my best, and also I'm trying to break my own record.
So she had a look around Sydney town. She certainly enjoyed it, did our Chinese runner. And when you have a look at the international calibre, it's quite extraordinary, the amount of runners we've got coming in, including Jin Ling Ling from China, a 26-year-old. And just having a look at some of her statistics, we'll get to those in just a moment, because I understand that the wheelchair athletes are not going to be far away, but her best ever result when you're looking at the marathon, 2:30.27. She did that in Beijing in front of her home crowd. This is the men's leaders. We are at 5 now, and the French runner in El Hassan Ben Kanouche is the man who's out in front, but they seem to be taking turns, the rotation. Here's our women's leader as well, and this is from Ethiopia. It is Biratat Degafa, and she is leading wearing the 14 in the red and the black strip as well. Our wheelchair finishers aren't far away either as they make their way to the Sydney Opera House. They started, of course, just in front of our marathon runners as the runners continue to come in for the half marathon. Now, a couple of these runners might get a bit of a hurry up, because the wheelchair athletes, of course, will be competing for times and trying to get their wheel across the line first and foremost. We might have one here that is making her way across, or this might be in the half marathon.
Yeah, I think you can see that maybe, as you say, the half marathon might be just coming in here, but I think there was a couple of motorbikes just behind there, which are maybe the leading motorbikes for the others, but difficult to say with so many of these athletes coming through the finish line now.
So this is the finish to the half marathon. That's our first wheelchair competitor in the half, and not necessarily one of the racing ones. Lisa Edmonds, congratulations to her, and she's done the 21 Ks and done it with beautiful poise and polish and a smile as she crossed the finish line as well. Now here's the first of our elite wheelchair athletes, and I suppose no surprise in there, Steve Monaghetti.
It's like Kurt Fernley, is it? Yeah. So, there you go. Having a great time. Great. How about that? Giving a fellow competitor a little bit of encouragement as well as he comes up to the finish line. No stress.
No, he looks very, very relaxed, doesn't he? I mean, almost a casual performance from Kurt here today, but a great effort nonetheless. A marathon is tough by any means.
Kurt
yeah.
Fernley, congratulations, a winner in 2005, 06, 07, 09, 10, 11, 12, and now 13 in the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival. Kurt Fernley, a wonderful ambassador for the sport of wheelchair racing, for the Australian sport in general. He's had a crack at sailing. He's done all sorts of different things as well. Lee Troop there just getting to him and saying congratulations. Kurt Fernley, one of the good guys.
Great result. He looks pretty relieved. Taking fluid on. I think it is a bit warmer out there than we're giving credit for, and you see him putting some over his head there as well. So I'm sensing that it's quite warm out there.
When you have a look at the achievements for him, extraordinary. The Beijing Games, the marathon gold, silver in the 800, silver in the 5,000, bronze in the 1,500. Does all disciplines, all distances, all disciplines.
How you doing?
And a long career. He's certainly been at the top of wheelchair racing for over 10 years now. An icon of the sport.